attendees to yet another COP28 gathering of the rich and famous and confused under the guise of saving the world from alleged man-made global warming met in oil-rich Dubai to talk about a phase-out or phase-down of hydrocarbon energy. I mean, when government representatives were asked why they supported committing economic suicide to save the climate while other countries keep building coal-fired power plants, they had no answers. I mean, these same people loudly pressed their hands together when UN Chief Guterres demanded an end to fossil fuels. I mean, some speakers admitted there will be no phase-out for their countries when no science guarantees that a phase-out will achieve anything but destroy civilization. Canada wasn't one that spoke up, though. I mean, on the very first day, governments were asked to make pledges to basically, fleece the taxpayer. Third world regimes were demanding at least $100 billion per year as a penalty for some new slush fund that, of course, would be managed by the World Bank. The U.S. readily admits to having already funneled billions of U.S. taxpayer dollars to this green slush fund since COP21, along with billions from other countries. I mean, Canada's commitment was not clear, and it was less clear where exactly the money would come from. Carbon taxes, maybe? Perhaps, the missing infrastructure money?
Huh?
I mean, the activists were unafraid to say it's the responsibility of affluent nations to pay proportionately for their role in creating the climate crisis. I mean, come on. King Charles flew in on his private jet to say $5 trillion would be needed each year? I mean, that would include tax money. But the private sector is expected to, just hand over greater sums? I mean, there's no mention of exactly where these funds would go. I mean, what is clear is that patience is wearing thin as this continual talk about a climate crisis is seriously damaging Western economies. I mean, the U.S. alone went from energy independence back to energy dependence in 2 short years. I mean, life on Earth is based on carbon. I mean, CO2 is plant food, not a pollutant. So just how did it get blamed for global warming? I mean, clearly there can't be any wind turbines or solar panels without fossil fuel, and my guess is they also could not produce enough power on their own to manufacture the turbines and solar panels. I mean, perceived cost is the biggest barrier. Coffee shop discussions usually end with people wondering, how much worse is it going to get over the obsession with net zero? Concerned conversations often lead to how will we save lives when ambulances are replaced with electric vehicles. Some are already being tested in Great Britain with hours lost recharging and billions spent on upgrading infrastructure. Tough luck if you live outside the city limits, because none of the conversation would be happening if not for this urgent push to net zero. Considering the recent EV subsidies being offered to select companies outside of Canada to build EV battery factories, the risk is high and will not necessarily lead to local jobs being created. I mean, it seems Canada has experienced subsidizing companies from outside the country carrying a high risk of failure. I can't help but wonder if we've reached peak insanity yet.